morning, good morning. Good morning, Melita. How are you? Good morning. It's good to see you on this Monday morning. Good morning. Let me finish doing this. Today is what? The 15th? Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Mornings with Martha, where authenticity lives and thrives to create a space of growth, healing, and joy. Good morning, Bobby Carr. I am your host, Andrea Lawful Sanders, and each day, why are we doing this? Each day, we will cover the topics that are informative and engaging while learning from each other. Let me turn that off. Good morning, everyone. How are you? It is Monday. Good morning, Charmaine. It is Monday, July 14th, 2025. We are here. It's another day in paradise. There's so much to talk about as usual. Good morning, Shamika. Good morning, Fee. Charmaine. Wow. It's the 14th, right? Top of the morning, Dennis. Good to see all of you here. You know, have a full day ahead. You know I don't come on the air with a full face of makeup, so I clearly have some things going on that I have to run to right after I leave here. But I had a great weekend. Hope you all did too. I took a little bit of time. We had some stuff going on, but we navigated through that. And we took a little bit of time, my husband and I, to spend a couple of hours together despite all the things that are happening, right? And so today we will have David Alexander Jenkins on as usual for our Monday, and I will cover some news as usual. There's a lot of flooding, flash flooding happening around the country, and so I'd like you all to pay attention when it's heading our way. We've had some here locally to Pennsylvania, and so we want to be able to pay attention to what's happening. All right, so let's get started because once the show is over, I have to literally run on out the house to go get some work done, and you'll see a little bit later. Let me pull up the news. What happened with you all this weekend that you want to talk about? Here we are. David Alexander Jenkins will be on in about 4 or 5 minutes. Whew. Ahead of the assassination attempt 1 year ago on President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania, the U.S. Secret Service denied multiple requests from Mr. Trump's Secret Service detail to bolster his security apparatus during his 2024 presidential campaign, according to a Senate report released on Sunday. The report from the Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs found that the Secret Service, quote unquote, denied or left unfulfilled at least 10 requests from Mr. Trump's detail for additional resources, including an enhanced counter drone system, counter assault team personnel, and counter snipers. This was written by CBSNews.com. You know what's so interesting about all of this? Good morning, John Amalis. What's so interesting about all of this is that people are no longer listening to or believing the media here, the legacy media here, CBS, NBC. People are just, and this is not Andrea talking. These are folks that I'm talking to that are saying they now listen to stuff that's happening on YouTube. Name one. Tabitha Speaks. There is Joyanne Reed. There is, also people are listening to other folks who are combating what the legacy media is putting forth. And so when I saw this report this weekend, someone said to me, I don't know if I believe all of that. And so it's a shame because these folks have worked so hard to go to school to be journalists, but there are many who feel that they've been compromised in recent years and months. So there we go. And then President Donald Trump marked the 1 year anniversary of a failed assassination attempt on his life on Sunday with his family and close advisors at the FIFA Club World Cup final. Trump and First Lady Melania Trump traveled from their golf club in Bedminster, New Jersey to East Rutherford, 40 miles away, to watch the final match of the U.S.-hosted tournament between Paris Saint-Germain and Chelsea at MetLife Stadium. He was greeted with cheers as he arrived at the stadium just ahead of the pre-match musical performance by singers Robbie Williams and Laura Pausini. And he got a smattering of boos when he was briefly shown on the stadium's mega screen. Good morning, Moya Life. Good morning. I see you all here. 40 years ago, the legendary Live Aid concerts. Oh, that was also written by one that I just read, CBS News, NBC News. NBC Philadelphia. 40 years ago, the legendary Live Aid concerts aimed to do a lot of good, helping to raise over $100 million for famine relief in Ethiopia and inspiring worldwide awareness for a cause it might otherwise have ignored. Simulcast from Philadelphia and London on July 13th, 1985, Live Aid was the most ambitious global television event of its time. 16 hours of live music in two different continents, featuring Queen, The Who, Led Zeppelin reunion, and more. A lot has changed in the years since. Live Aid's 85 is now to now is the same distance as the Second World War from Live Aid, notes Rick Springfield laughingly. That's how long ago it was. Good morning, Cheryl. Good morning, Wendy Arthur. And I see Bobby Carr there. Let me come on over here and talk to you guys. David will be here shortly. We'll have a conversation with him. On the weekend, President Donald Trump decided to pick his biggest political fight to date with the MAGA base he created in his own image. Thousands of his adherents were gathered together, and all they wanted to talk about here at the Student Action Summit hosted by the conservative activist group Turning Point USA was the Epstein files. I think that these people, and I don't know for whatever reason, there could be reasons, but I don't think they're telling the truth about Epstein. Podcaster Brandon Tatum told the assembled crowd at the Tampa Convention Center. I think that guy was involved in something nefarious that implicates a whole lot of people. And my guess is that the whole lot of people may happen to be some of our allies and some people that we don't want to have a bad relationship with. This was written by NBCPhiladelphia.com. So the word out via the news is that many of his MAGA base are really upset with him about the Epstein files. They believe that the president is not telling the truth, and so now they're having a moment. So in that time, he began to pick a fight with Rosie O'Donnell, and that did not end well either, because she moved to Ireland with her children and her family, and he was saying that he did not want her. He was going to take away her citizenship, and she came back at him. So that was interesting. Police have arrested a man who they claim was involved in a shooting that injured 3 people in North Philadelphia on Wednesday last week. According to the police on Friday, July 11th, 2025, officers apprehended Nikhil Jennings, 39, for his alleged role in a shooting that happened along the 2600 block of Cecil B. Moore Avenue in Philadelphia on Wednesday, July 9th, 2025. Investigators believe that Jennings was the gunman who allegedly fired at 3 people, police said. In that incident, officials said a 37-year-old woman was shot in her knee and ankle, a 35-year-old man suffered a graze wound to his hip, and a 29-year-old man was shot in the foot. Oswald Barrett. Good morning, sister. And he says, Trump's visit yesterday to Bergen County was a total traffic nightmare, and I got tied up in it. Nathaniel Lee. Good morning to all of you. That was written by NBCPhiladelphia.com. President Donald Trump's deportation plans could cost nearly 6 million jobs annually, including 234,000 in New Jersey and 115,000 in Pennsylvania, according to an analysis released on Thursday. If successful, Trump's goal of deporting 4 million people over 4 years will cost jobs held by both immigrants and U.S.-born workers, according to the Economic Policy Institute. EPP's analysis found California, Florida, New York, and Texas will have the highest number of job losses because of larger immigrant populations in those states. According to the analysis, New Jersey would lose 132,000 immigrant job losses and 102 lost jobs among U.S.-born workers, while Pennsylvania would see 65,000 immigrant job losses and 50,000 U.S.-born job losses. This was written by PhillyVoice.com. Let's see. All across Philadelphia, many people were making their final tosses of trash into dumpsters scattered in neighborhoods across the city on Friday. The 60-something neighborhood drop-off sites set up during the District Council 33 strike were often stacked high with bags of trash and other various pieces of discarded debris. Now things were mostly cleaned up at the sites CBS News Philadelphia went to on Friday, and city officials say they'll soon be completely gone. By this weekend, all the dumpsters should be removed, said Carlton Williams, director of the Office of Clean and Green Initiatives. This was written by CBSNews.com in Philadelphia. Four people are in the hospital Sunday after early morning crashes on the Roosevelt Boulevard in the East Falls section of the city. Both crashes involved multiple cars. They happened at the same time and location, the southbound lanes at the Ridge Avenue exit. One of those victims is hospitalized in critical condition, and investigators are working to determine the cause of each crash. 6abc.com posted that. T-Mobile has scrapped its diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives as it seeks to make two major acquisitions, which require approval from the Federal Communications Commission, FCC. Slow down, Andrea. In a letter sent to the FCC on Tuesday, July 8th, the wireless carrier pledged to discontinue its DEI policies, not just in name, but in substance. We recognize that the legal and policy landscape surrounding DEI under federal law has changed, T-Mobile wrote, per USA Today. Among the changes are the elimination of roles in teams dedicated to DEI and the removal of DEI references from its website and training material. Do with that as you may. Mhm. BINN News, like Information News .com wrote this. This is about new Texas flood that's happening. That's halts search for victims of deadly July 4th flooding. Emergency crews were forced to suspend search operations in Kirk County, Texas on Sunday as the area hit hardest by catastrophic flash flooding earlier this month faced a renewed flood threat. Texas Governor Greg Abbott said on Sunday afternoon that rescue operations were underway in San Saba, Lampasas, and Schleicher counties. Evacuations are also ongoing in several central Texas counties as authorities monitor rising water in Kerrville, the hardest hit city in Kirk County by the destructive July 4th storms that caused the Guadalupe River to overflow. Officials in Texas rural and flood-prone hill country have said at least 161 from the area remain missing, and efforts to find them are ongoing. All right, let me read some of these messages over here. Good morning. It's a whole lot of good morning. Oh, thank you, Viola. Purple and orange are my favorite colors. Good morning, Monica. Charmaine said she completed her first triathlon yesterday. Excellent. Excellent. I love it. There's David Alexander Jenkins. Good morning, Marguerite. Good morning. And she's telling you congratulations, Charmaine. My eyes are tearing. Joanne says, unbelievable how Trump has told 30,000 lies, sexual abuse, 34 felonies, but his base decides to focus on the lies about the Epstein list. Good morning, Laverne. All right. And people are still telling Charmaine, congratulations. Congratulations for your first. I don't even know how you managed. You're going to tell us all about it. Good morning, my darling.
Oh,
How
good
are you?
morning. Look at you. Where you going?
I got a hot date.
Oh, good enough. I look like hell.
Are you back stateside?
I am in the country.
Okay.
Um, you know, oh, oh, what a time. First of all, we just have to pause and reflect on this that's going on here. We see y'all see this. You see the deep face and the hair is dead and the purple is on. Where are we going? I wasn't
We
warned,
have
y'all.
we have a live broadcast, and I'm telling you, this new look that I have is killing people.
I am here for this moment that is living before me. I saw you sitting up in your chair with your crown. I don't need to twist some of this, and can I get it in this
Listen,
twisted?
listen. And I'm actually trying this out for a thing that I'm doing on August 9th. Oh, honey, you must make an appearance.
Yes, yes. Well,
Hmm.
it is.
We'll
It
talk
is.
about that later.
It is good to be back in the United States of America for a moment, and and to greet that. Every day there's something else which shocks and rocks me.
Okay, so what's shocking and rocking you now? Because I'm shocked and rocked at least 4 times a day.
Well, it's the we're going to start removing citizens like Rosie O'Donnell. That's a hit remove. It's the
Got
Epstein
permission
files.
from the Supreme Court to remove naturalized citizens.
That it's the Epstein file dump, in which we don't want to discuss the minute that's missing. It's the
Why are they so angry with him about the Epstein files and not all the other things?
Why are the MAGA Republicans so angry?
Yes, they're
I think it's
angry at
because
him.
that is one of the things that fits into their narrative about child rape and this and the other. So one of the things he's done to stoke their fire is to talk about all of the politicians who he felt were involved in these horrific crimes. And that was one of the catalyst pulls, if you will, for that white Christian alt nationalist community, which
Mhm.
doesn't often read or listen to what's in the Bible. Anyway, but anyway, that group, one of the catalyst calls was this trafficking of minors. And so if they discover that their fearless leader was the one who trafficked the minors in the first place, that might be a bit of an issue. And even the immigration birthright citizen thing is a problem for the right Christian nationalist who is running their farm with these people. It's a problem for the White House because Melania Trump would then need to be deported. Right. So um, I, every day is something new. And
Right.
every something new is so astonishing and so new that it almost feels normal.
And that's the dangerous part about it,
That's what's
David,
dangerous.
that it's starting to feel like this is just normal, par for the course. Every day it's something else. I was talking to a dear friend of mine who always calms me, Joanne Bell. I love her dearly because she's been around for a long time.
Mm.
She knows the history locally. She knows and if she doesn't know, she'll point me into the direction where I should go. And she said to me, "Are you aware that so many people a naturalized citizen that you think were born and raised here?" And she starts naming some of them, and I was like, "Wait, what?" She said it would be a travesty for so many. It would completely cripple the country. There are a lot of people here that came, from another country, married somebody else, and so they're naturalized citizens, right? So they were
More
not
of
born here.
them, more of them, even more poignantly, are Donald Trump supporting Republicans. So part of this removal of a naturalized citizen, when you look at the politics of the naturalized citizen, it really hurts his demographic more than anyone else's.
But to what end, David? What is he doing? Why is this about?
Well, I
What's
think in
happening?
the game of chess, the long game is to get us to war in 2.5 years, right? And so he, in order to remain president, we know this to be true. In order to remain president, he has to legally in a bid to sort of skip a vote would need to be a wartime president. He would need to have the powers of the executive branch in a time of war, either civil or international. And we see the fans being stoked around, right? We saw what was going on with Canada. We saw what's going on with Greenland. We saw these sort of things. We have natural disasters here where he just is ignoring the people of the United States in such a fierce way that Mexico has to come and help the people of Texas because we won't help the people. Um,
And now the mayor of that one particular town where the Mexicans came in to help and save this family said they can come and have citizenship, and he never thought he'd see the day where he would actually welcome immigrants into this country. And it's a startling lesson because the people who we denigrate and think shouldn't be here are the ones that have actually helped to keep this country going, right?
building in
And
the
have done
first
all the
place.
things. And Mexico has been treated so horribly. What kind of irony was that? That it was Mexico that came across the border and said, "Here, let us give you a hand in this."
Let's be clear. This was part of America that was originally Mexico.
Right. Because
So
Texas
this
belonged to
was
Mexico.
Mexico,
Right.
right?
California belonged to Mexico.
California was
Arizona
Mexico.
belonged to Mexico.
Arizona was Mexico. This was Mexico. And we, as the United States of America, I'm a colored person, I wasn't me. But we, as the United States of America, came in and really wrote a really bad deal. They got very little of that deal, and all the land went to America. And so when we say people who don't belong here, and we look at Mexicans, actually, Mexicans are few, for some of the few people who do belong in this exact place that we would say that they don't. And so here is yet another example of craziness, of absolute craziness. So when I did not watch American news from the United Kingdom, except for last Sunday night in preparation to talk to you on
Hmm.
last Monday. And so I am baffled by the nation's politics, but I'm also baffled by local politics. And I have to say that when we um, when we message to the people, it's important how we message and what we say. And I am very, very worried about the way in which the political arm of city governance messages to the people of Philadelphia.
So
That is
what
to
did you
say,
see from the outside looking in? What
from
did
the
you
outside
see?
looking in, from London News, I saw the mayor of Philadelphia yelling at her constituents was the headline.
Wait, that was on the news in
In
London?
London, Cheryl Parker made the news because of the trash crisis, which was compared to the New York trash crisis. You have to remember that London has a population of homelessness that in European would be considered too large.
Mhm.
Nothing in comparison to what we have here. And so that the trash crisis of the 1980s and 90s in the New York city that we remember how terrible that was what people like, is this what this is going to be? And again, the preparations of what is it like for a mayor to talk to her people. What was happening and what was being said was, and I analyzed it, I took the speech and I analyzed it. You know, I like to take a speech and go.
Mhm.
The speech itself was not problematic. The delivery of the speech was abominable. Because what happens in these deliveries is that we reach out as an authoritative force that says you will and you shall, and it's going to happen without any will, shall, and going to happen guaranteed. And so what people receive is, I don't care. And I don't think that's what is meant at all. But I think that there's an
Yeah, I don't think she
advisor
meant that at all.
at all, at all. And
Um,
so when I look back at the speech and I reread the speech in a gentle, soft, and mother-like tone, it's a beautiful message which says, I'm
mhm.
trying my best. Please help me come to the table and work with me. And so a conversation around who is advising in the background needs to be happening so that the mayor can continue to be the mayor she wants to be without appearing to be a person who is cold and unfeeling, because I don't think that's
That's
actually
not
what's
who
there
she
at
is, though.
all.
Right?
At
Yeah.
all. And unfortunately, whoever is coaching her to preach instead of to speak is doing a great disservice. And the imagery of having three executive branch members come out behind you in this forced tunnel hallway, that image, hair done, makeup on, ready to speak when you've negotiated all night long. Bad image, right? Come out in the heartthrob that I know that you are and speak to the people on the level. And I think that
Mhm.
that's one of the things that was very jarring to see here, but it was also very jarring to see with the stadium. It was very jarring to see with other actions, this same sort of Baptist preaching that nobody cares to hear.
I, okay, so I think, excuse me, I don't know what I'm in here. I need some water and my tea, which is not down here. Talking to the person who should have brought my tea this morning.
Careful now. Careful. I'll
I'm
just hand
stepping
you yours.
carefully. I'm stepping carefully. We had Mayor Nutter, we had Mayor Kenny, we
Mhm.
had, I think we're going all the way back, Mayor Street. That
Mhm.
this issue with the DC 33 had been going on for a long time.
Right. Let's
I,
compare
I
them.
I have to be honest in saying that I don't remember some of them, right? But according to the people who had been here, that was here in the city when all of this was going on from '86 on, even before that, District Council 33 was always given the short end of the stick, most
Absolutely.
notably by Nutter, they say, right?
Absolutely.
And they did not see the kind of vitriol aimed towards these men the way it was aimed towards
False.
Mayor Park.
False.
Say more
False.
about that.
False. I remember the day that I mean, and just it's statements in total. Because when I heard our friend and co-host in another place speak to this, Miss Patty, I I remember the day when Mayor Nutter suggested that he was tired and maybe ready to sit down at some point.
That
And
was a
we
Nutter. Was it
No, no,
Nutter or
no.
was
That
it
was that
Kenny?
was that was Kenny, right? I remember
Right, Kenny. Right.
right. We
And he was
almost
tired of being mayor.
we
Oh, they tried to
almost
crucify him. Yeah,
decapitated
you're right.
him.
You're right.
We
You're right.
hung him from every tree we could find. We wrote little effigies and had voodoo dolls. It was terrible. It was
Yep.
terrible. All he did was suggest that he was tired. tired. When Nutter, let's go back. When Street had a small crisis of potholes, we tore him to pieces and said, Mayor Street, the streets is X, Y, and Z. So we have always come to the table with vitriol when we
Mhm.
do not like the behavior of the mayor. What we usually see, however, is a
Mhm.
response which
Mhm.
is more apologetic, if not more gentle, and more coming back to the Mayor Kenny
Mhm.
immediately came to the microphone and said, listen, I'm just explaining to you that I get notes to ask me to correct where the stop sign is.
Mhm.
And that after a while, when you watch people die and you're trying to fix things and this and the other,
Mhm.
that the job is heavy. And I, like all of you,
Mhm.
sometimes am tired at the end of the day and need to rest. And we
Mhm.
we couldn't accept that. Right? We could so I don't think at all it has anything to do with her being an African American female woman. I'm tired of us
You
using
don't
that
think
card.
so?
No, I'm tired of using card. I think what is African American female that we judge is the behavior of an African American female, which is always to be
Mhm.
judged when it's strong, when it's in position of dominant masculinity. But by the way, hello, coat check. We are tired of all toxic masculine people in the boardroom today. And
Mhm.
now they're being sued for sexual assault, for
Right.
violence, for this, that, and the other. We've come to a new place where we're not accepting that in the boardroom either from men. We
Right. Right.
certainly don't want to hear it from anyone else. And what is uniquely positioned for a female mayor is the ability to appeal to your citizens as a mother in a way that it's believable. Because men often cannot appeal to their citizens as mom. But if
Mhm.
you come to your citizens in Philadelphia at a time where jobs are stressful, at times where housing
Mhm.
is stressful, at a time where there's a lack of food, at a time where people are just tired and frustrated with the federal level of things and the international temperature, and you appeal to your citizens as mom, my God, can you get through so many things that is
Mhm.
impossible for any man to do? So I think it is time that we lean on the strength of this 100th female mayor as a Black woman leading Black constituents as a mom to
Mhm.
use that and say, hey, 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 come to the kitchen table. Let's talk about this together. Let me give you a hug first.
Mhm.
And then walk with me together through this because we don't have to bark like dads.
Mhm.
It's not working. And I think she could really endear herself and come to this place too, to a lot of constituents who would never side with even people we feel are right if she chose to exercise some of that grace as well in a unique way that really only she has had the opportunity to do so far in politics today.
What she has said, though, that she is who she is, right?
I
Before,
disagree. I
before,
disagree.
before she became mayor, she said, "What you see now is what you're going to get." Right?
But
I'm
we
not
didn't see
going to
that.
change.
No, and this is the thing I have to tell you. I was walking in the hallway at City Hall just before the end of the last session, and I saw her in the hallway and gave a big hug. Ah, it's good to see you, kiss, kiss, kiss. And she was thanking me for a brooch that I gave her during St. Patrick's Day. And that Chanel Parker is the Chanel Parker that Philadelphia wants to see in their mayor. They want to see the soft, beautiful, kind, thankful, generous spirit, and that's who she is every time she's not in front of a microphone.
Yes, she is.
Every time there's no microphone, there is this lovely person who absolutely cares and wants to see dignity, is not so sure, but has
Mhm.
questions and wants the people of Philadelphia to take the ride with her in discovering the answer to the journey called Where Do We Go? And that woman there is a person who should be in a seat of power because that person discerns with the body
Mhm.
what's best. Unfortunately, the microphone turns on and we have the stage presence of the Pentecostal church,
Mhm.
which does not have room for conjecture or unsurety or
Mhm.
lack of that isn't working. And
Mhm.
it's never worked in politics. It hasn't worked for men. We've always hung them up on the hook when they've gone too far with that.
Mhm.
It certainly hasn't worked with women. And I think this is an opportunity now to see her bring herself, her actual, the woman in the hallway, the
Yeah.
lady you see waiting for security to move her, who's giving a hug to a child who nobody caught on television.
Yeah.
That is the Sherelle Parker that needs to come to the microphone. We saw this happen with Hillary Clinton in
Mhm.
national level. We saw this with Kamala Harris in a national
But
level.
what they said about Hillary is that she was cold and unfeeling, that
And she
they did
wasn't
not
and
like that about her.
in
And they said
person.
Kamala giggled too much. She laughed all the time. Can
Yeah.
we just be herself, is what I'm saying.
And so what I'm saying is, yes, you can, but the truth is that's not yourself. And I think that's what's into.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't want to go there, but even with Meghan Markle, what's said about her is that her behavior on film is disingenuous. It feels disingenuous. It feels disingenuous when these speeches are made like this. It feels disingenuous because, truthfully, Hillary Clinton in person is a really beautiful,
Mhm.
short, funny, and calm lady who you're like, oh my God, I love you.
Mhm.
On TV, she looks like the Wicked Witch. In truth,
Mhm.
Kamala Harris is brilliant. Her acumen for quick thinking responses and how she speaks to people and how she reaches, how she remembers you is right there. She's not giggling all the time and falling all over the place, but that's what we've captured, and then we find it
Mhm.
disingenuous. In truth,
Mhm.
Cheryl Parker is someone who you can speak with on the side of the hallway, who will remember you for something small and generous, who is kind in her spirit, who, and the microphone turn on, becomes a caricature, which is not always using the best of English as an English teacher.
Right. I hear you.
That's where we
Yeah,
have the
that
rubber
on
meeting the road.
today makes you crazy, doesn't it?
On today is not acceptable ever in life. It is grammatically wrong. It should never be used. But moreover, when we talk about the citizens, and this is what I want to say, the
Mhm.
job of a mayor is not CEO of the city. That is a
Mhm.
part of the job description, but truthfully, you have a city council who handles that job. Your
Mhm.
job is mom or father of the
Mhm.
people you protect. And it is
Right.
to always come on the behalf of the people you protect to the legislation
Right.
and beg the legislation to push for the people. It is not to use this legislation to push the people's way out.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
I think that how we talk is really the issue. Again, I read the speech. The speech was perfect had it been delivered as someone championing the people as a mom, but it was bad as a CEO championing the industry against the thought of people and their angst. So that is where I think I was frustrated in politics, and watching that across the world in England, watching Philadelphia show up in the news and hearing that was sad for me, really
Mhm.
sad for me.
Yeah. So now the strike is over. In your humblest of opinions, do you think District Council 33 got a fair shake in that deal? Is there anything the city could have done? Because when you look at the budget, they only had X amount of dollars, right? Isaiah Thomas spoke about it and said this is going to be a bad deal for District Council 33 when we saw what their raise, the proposal for their raises were going to be. And no one seems to really have a conversation about. Cherry Gregg joined us, I think Wednesday or Thursday, and she said the telling thing is that no one really cares about people who are considered the lowest of the totem pole, right? We tend to look down on people who do the what we would consider the menial tasks. But the fact of the matter is their jobs are just as important because as we see, if they stop doing what they're supposed to be doing, we're in a crisis in this city. So why do we not? How is it that when? How can we get to the place where we're actually paying people a livable wage? Um,
Do you want me to answer this from a perspective of what is truthful, what is visually appealing, what
tru-
is
Truthful, please.
truthful first? Okay. Did the executive branch take a pay cut this year, or did they give themselves a raise?
They got a raise.
Did the executive branch shift billions of dollars into luxury affordable housing before promising to fix the wage disparity issue with the people who would need to acquire
Is
such?
it billions or 800 million?
It was 800 million at the end of the day, but what was the shift? Well, it was a billion, it was 1 point some odd billion
Yes, I
dollars,
remember that. Right, right.
right?
Okay.
Um, did we adjust the living wage issue, which would preclude you from being able to afford the houses that are going to be built? So when we talk about truth, truth says there is way too much politicking going on in the room of politics that stop real
Mhm,
action from happening. Had we been concerned, we would have
mhm,
used the 5,000 plus buildings and homes within the land bank to
mhm,
immediately repair them and make them available to the market for people to live in. We would have at the same time given reprieve and raises to all people under the minimum wage level. We would have then fought our way to the Pennsylvania State House to talk about why is the minimum wage so low, so that people couldn't process minimum wage that way. And then we would have fought to have companies come to Philadelphia with all of our tax incentives and this and the other that would have employed the people at a higher wage that we would have demanded. Instead, what we have done is take our own understanding of what it means to be a person and say to people, I will help you if you do these things. If you strive like this, you can get on the list and in 5 years have a job. Well, what happens before you then? If we talk to developers before we talk to citizens, we end up with a bad plan called luxury affordable housing. When we have housing which could be made livable, because luxury is not a right, life is. And so when we are not concerned about people being able to just sustain life because we're focused on luxury, we have a problem. I'm not going to put that all in the basket of Sherelle Parker because I think there's a bigger conversation that's happened over the many years of Philadelphia being Philadelphia. What I am going to say is that there is a marketing problem in the way in which that is spoken to, if what we want is this goal at the end of the day to have that happen, to ignore some of these other things. And from a real standpoint, there are people who are hungry, there are people who are working hard who do not make the amount to be able to stay in the home that they live in. And we have a obscene mass of buildings, houses, infrastructures in land bank that we are waiting for developers to want to do something with instead of developing it ourselves. So the program that we need is a self-development where people can take those houses within a short window of time to turn them around. Short being you have 2-3 months to make this place livable, and you need to put one of these people that's registered as one of 5,000 someone after. Not that's not just single family homes. There are apartment dwellings. There are big buildings in the city that are empty
It has been empty,
and
yes.
have been. So
Yes.
when I hear this, we don't have the money, I say bullshit. Because I brought Joe McDonald to the table, who was recognized by the United Nations. I brought Joe McDonald, who was saying we're willing to bring SIG with all of their federal funding to Philadelphia and build it for free, and it was
Mm.
ignored. So I don't want to hear we don't have the money. That's not true. We don't have the inertia and the chutzpah to stand up to the politics of the day and say, you're not doing the job and we have to get it done. And so we'd rather sit with the developers in Philadelphia not to piss them off and with the union workers in the city not to piss them off instead of raising the wages. And here we are. And here we are in a national time, in a government where the rights of people are being stripped away even more and more and more. What Philadelphia could do is stand strong together to protect its citizens. And what we are doing is ignoring the basic life needs by fulfilling hopes and dreams of a luxury affordable market, which has never been affordable because luxury is the opposite of affordability.
Beautiful. I'm going to have a moment of silence on that one.
Mhm.
So, essentially, what you're saying is that, and correct me if I'm incorrect, that we're following the political whims of those who put the monies in our pockets so we can continue to do what we want to do to run for office versus doing what is absolutely right on behalf of the citizen.
I am saying that I have heard, and I know it to be true, that in order to run a city effectively, there is a fiscal responsibility which has to be met, and I understand that part. But I'm going to ask you, Andrea, you are a mother, right? And as a mom with your children, can you just name the first four obligations you have to them? First things that come to mind.
A roof over their head,
Okay.
food to eat,
Okay.
their health and well being. Okay.
Okay. And what's the fourth now?
Love, unconditional love.
Okay. I need you to apply those to the mayorship of Philadelphia in that order. And if you haven't done that, male or female, you have failed. The job of the mayor is to apply those four things to the office in a way that when you deliver it to the body which delegates and votes and runs the governance, they have no option but to make those things possible for the citizens that you are mom or dad of.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
the job.
Oh,
Whenever somebody else comes into that moment or something else confuses that moment, we got a problem, right? So yes, the mayor's in a real sticky position where she's got to find money to run the city. Absolutely fine. But then she says, these are the things mom has to do to protect her babies.
Mhm.
And if she spoke to the citizens of Philadelphia as a mom protecting her babies, I'm telling you, she could run 5 or 6
Times, yeah.
times and be
Mhm.
mayor.
Mhm.
But you gotta get back to the people of Philadelphia are in a desperate situation in which they need mom to come to the rescue. And that means roof over their head, food in their
Food in
belly,
their body, a
right?
healthy
Their
health, well-being
health,
to the kid. Yes,
and then a
and
bunch of
gloves.
love.
Yeah,
And then you pass that to the legislative branch and they figure out where to get the money to make that happen.
yeah,
And when they don't, you bring the hammer. Where is the money to make that happen?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So if I were in a position of governance, that is the way in which I have been taught is the way you rule. It's from the people.
But would some say that that is naive thinking, that that's not the way government works, or have we just gotten away from doing what is correct and right for the people who live in these cities? You
It
saw
is
the
naive.
mayor in Texas and the way he behaved. It was insane.
Right. So it's naivete. It's naivete if you believe that it is the job of the city governments to do that. And this is where we have a problem. The roles have flopped. The city governance in Philadelphia is concerned about humanities quite often. And I love that because I'm a concerned about humanities person. Their job is to legislate and rule for the best of Philadelphia. It is not always to first be concerned with humanities, but rather to legislate and rule. The office of the executive branch is to be wholly concerned with the humanities of the people, to champion the people on their behalf so that the government can fight for their success. We have flopped sometimes that understanding for a long time. It's not just for Parkers. This is every administration's flopped that because we come with the budget of how we make this big and bold. Let me tell you, if you secure the food, shelter, education, love, health of an individual, they will thrive because no one wants to stand in a place where they
So
can't
who
move
does
forward.
it serve that certain groups of people don't thrive? Because we've been
Um,
talking around this for decades.
It
Decades.
used to be that in the city of Philadelphia, a Caucasian base of business owners holding the seat of power did not want to see an other group come in. I will say to you in Philadelphia, this is a largely populous African American, Latino, Asian American city where Caucasian Americans do not meet the agenda in a way that they can sway. um the truth of what economic prosperity would bring to the city from the big like so I don't think that the worry that we need to have today in our current situation is what happens if this group of people X, Y, and Z. I will say that what we do is say, well, the big developers want first dibs at the spot where the Ritz-Carlton is. So we're willing to have homeless people while we continue focusing on the big developers. So it's not that who does it benefit to make poor, it's who can we ignore to make rich. And the truth is, you cannot ignore the poor if ever you want to be rich. And we can go back to the beginning of that, which is feudalism. In order for that to work, in order for there to be a king and a duke and a lord and anybody else, you got to have all the people working the farm. If
Yes.
they're not working the farm, cared for, provided for, housed, right? Even the robber barons understood this. They housed their entire staff for free. They built communities. Many of the places in Philadelphia, these communities of beautiful cottages in Germantown, were cottages built around the manufacturing industry where one person said, I'm going to house my entire workforce for free because they're allowing me to make the money that will continue forward. We have forgotten that we are on the legs upon which we stand. And if we cut off the legs, we too fall. And so I think this understanding, and I'm always in city council talking about this understanding that if you suffer your people to be ill-educated and you corrupt their management efficacy and then you charge them for the crimes which their first education disposes of them, then you have only created the thief that you are going to punish, right? That is something straight out of the mouths of the genius in Utopia that was written by the Lords of England who understood their feudal position. That if you do not take care of the people who have nothing, you will eventually come down to the earth with them.
Absolutely.
The only reason you stand 10 hands high is because you are standing on 9 other sets of hands.
Mm. The only reason why you're standing 10 hands high is because you're already sitting on 9 other sets of hands. When did we lose the way? How is it that we, and you see it happening across the country, we're destroying whole swaths of people. To what end? It can't just be about money, David. Because if it's just about money, then the people that you need to do the work so that you can continue to be rich will be all gone. So what the hell is happening?
Well, you have to remember that about 50 years ago, maybe 60 years ago, we began what's called the McDonald's culture,
Mhm.
right? Happy Meal culture. I want to come to the line, fast food, get what I ordered within 3 minutes and walk away fed. We put so much emphasis on the Happy Meal fast food culture that we can now give you in under 2 minutes, or it's free. Remember McDonald's slogan, under 2 minutes. We can give you your Happy Meal. The result of that is that we can then also give you with that Happy Meal cancer, obesity, brain deadness, X, Y, and Z, because we can't actually cook food which is edible in that amount of time. We can only cook food which looks edible in that amount of
Edible.
time. And the result of that is that you yourself are an Oompa Loompa with bad brain power who can't function, who's in the hospital constantly, bad health. Okay. We've done the same thing with society. I want it now. I want to be rich quick. I want to figure out how it's going to go, and everyone's going to help me this and the other. Okay, so we have found a way for you to do that. We could Instagram your way to success.
Yes.
But at the
Yep.
end of the day, you are filled with a cancerous behavior inside. At the end of the day, you have obesity of the stomach and constipation of the thought. At the end of the day, you have come as a nymph to the table with nothing to offer it because you have a happy meal version of a life.
Absolutely.
Or a mansion could next to someone else where you can't even fit a house between it. At the end of the day, you have a
Mhm.
fast food understanding of what it means to be a human being. And at the end of the day, you are disposable along with the people around you. And so it's what's my get? So when we look to hire people now for governments, we look to hire people who don't come with a happy meal behavior, people who come with a long understanding of what it means to stop the development of cancer before it starts. And um, and so what we have here is not a new problem, it's a historic problem that we've built. We've taught our children and we've taught their parents
You're
how to have.
absolutely had a conversation a few days ago with a young person who said, if I don't see results right away, if I don't get the money that they graduate from college and they want to make $100,000, no one, I'm not doing what you did and your parents did and my forefathers did. I have to see the result right away. Otherwise, I'm not being a part of it and I will walk away. There is something to be said for learning and growing and getting things done. And I am personally frustrated by the microwavable way in which we handle things. I had to sit people down and say, I cannot work with you this way. There is just no way. I need certain things done in a certain order so we can get the excellence that is needed. But why do you need to do all of this? You're doing a live broadcast. Don't you just need a computer in front of you and a microphone? No, there's a whole system that needs to be purchased. There are wires and plugs and all the things that need to go in. You need to set up the speaker. You need to make sure you have a Wi-Fi, your own internet access, because you don't want to be on a public system using I had to describe all of that.
And I want to be careful here because as a people in this generation, me becoming more elderly as I look at the gray in my hair growing, I'm aware that every time I do like this, I have one, two, three, four, five, six fingers pointing
Pointing
back
back
at
at me,
me.
absolutely.
So when the youth say to me, I have to have a job that's $100,000 to be able to be successful, and if I don't have it, I'm moving on, that's
Mhm.
because I've made it impossible for them to live on 30.
Shekoromo Shanda,
So in
yes.
order for me to say to the youth today, you
Mhm.
can calm down, I also have to provide them with a
Yes, with the
soft
so
spot to land in, with the free rent, with the food paid for at the company so that they can work for
Mhm.
$30,000 and do
Mhm.
nothing but save the $30,000 for the first 4 years while they apprentice this job.
Yep.
Unfortunately, today in Philadelphia, I'm going to charge you 15, 16, $1,700 a month, which means that $20,000 of your income is gone, which means you have nine, $10,000 to live your entire life off of, which means you can't afford to pay attention because you have bills to pay back. And therefore, the truth is, unless they get $100,000, they're not willing to go to work at all. Because if you're going to be homeless, you might as well just be homeless without stress instead of be homeless and sitting at someone's desk. And that is their mentality. And I cannot blame them with two fingers without pointing the six back at myself and said, what did we do to create this? So the answer comes back to the city government who says, okay, what can we legislate that makes us helpful? How can, in the case of, we're not actually, how can we encourage businesses to come here and provide housing for the people that they employ? Oh,
Mhm.
two birds with one stone. We have empty buildings, which we be wise to say to companies, we will give you this apartment complex tower to run and pay the expenses for since it's empty. The obligation is that you must house the people that work for you in this building for free.
Mhm.
Everyone you hire needs an apartment, so they stay in
Mhm.
the city, spend the money they make in the city instead of on rent
Mhm.
to somebody else that doesn't
Mhm.
live here, where they use the building in the city. Oh, I'm talking too much, and I'm not campaigning, but let me tell you, this is the stuff that I wake up with in a cold sweat and think, why don't we? And the answer is because we don't think like a parent protecting our babies with food and shelter and clothing, and that we think like a corporation where whatever happens to you is just a number. So that is the answer. That's how we get there. We say, okay, we have these empty buildings. Why don't we say, Comcast, would you take over the responsibility of maintaining and supporting this building since now it's on the city? And in doing so, would you house your Comcast employees for free
Right.
so that when you bring people out of these colleges, you can hire them at 40, $50,000 a year
Right, because
because their
you take
housing
the
and
rent
food
off
is
the table.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, look at that, the balance. How easy it is to come to a conclusion when you think like someone who's in love with the people that they serve.
Child, you said five mouthfuls today, and all of it made sense. Thank you. Thank you. Oftentimes we get, emotional about the things that are happening around us, and we know the answers are simple enough. We just don't want to visit them because we're afraid of what people may think or say. Oh my God, you what? Free housing? But you're right. I've been watching these period shows where, people with a substantial wealth and the servants, and that they have provided living quarters for them, and they're there. And you're absolutely right. And then these folks, these same folks, are loyal, right? Because one of them just sold something for a watch Westinghouse. The Westinghouse
Mhm.
was given $600,000, and he was like, I don't know what to do with this kind of money. It immediately made him wealthy, but he wanted to stay with his employers as a servant because they were taking such good care of him. Yeah, right. And at the same time, people with new money can't really blend with the folks with old money because there's a crassness that comes with the new money in understanding aristocrat. It's there is so much going on here.
They were never taught. They were
We know.
never taught how to live that way, which means they were
Mhm.
never taught to be caretakers of the
Yeah,
people who take
of the
care of
people
you.
around them.
Right?
Yeah.
And so growing up in a life in which we were taught to be caretakers of the people who took care of us. When my grandparents died, my grandfather died particularly, and they had 1809 and we were selling the house, there was a staff of people who need to be resituated, right? My grandmother kept on much of that staff until she moved out of that house to another place. And even then, they went to nursing home and were retired fully
Hmm.
with expenses
Hmm.
taken care of because those people took care of us for
Yeah.
generations,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? I have godparents that came out of families that took care of my family for generations. So
Hmm.
I don't come to the table with this attitude of it's not my job. No, 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 no.
Yeah.
You are your brother's keeper for all the
Hmm.
for the all national Christians people out there who read the Bible. You are your brother's keeper. If you were in church on Sunday, you heard the story of the Good Samaritan. You are your brother's keeper. There is no question about that. If you were in politics in any way, shape, or form, you're in city government, you're the mayor, you're the governor, you are the keeper.
Yeah. Yeah.
These
The
are your
part about
brothers.
public servant is lost on so many people. It's become something completely different, right? You're there
So
to
I think
serve
that
people.
what happens is that the office of the mayor gets bogged down with a stack of work in this and the other. And really, the people who are
Mhm.
employed by the office should be taking those papers off the desk and reading through them. But the job of the mayor is to constantly champion the
Mhm.
humanities of the people
Mhm.
that are her brothers, her sisters, her
Mhm.
children,
Yeah.
right? And if she's always championing that, whether she falls or fails, or whether she succeeds or is triumphant, we will always look at her with fond love and elect her back.
Back.
Because even if she has really terrible plans and they don't work,
Mhm.
but she's appealed to us as mom for the best interest of
Mhm.
us, we'll always vote for her.
Yeah. This is a good Monday. We didn't focus all on Donald Trump.
I, he- he's got to go. But the truth is, and the reason is, right, and this is one of those things, since Big Daddy, right, isn't paying attention, it comes down to the aunties and the uncles around the neighborhood. So the village understanding to raise the child is really real. And I think that the thing that I love about Philadelphia, and God, I love this. And every time the plane tilts over the city and I can see, William Penn, I get excited because the people of Philadelphia are so resilient and so loving and so committed to this city and to what is right that we ignore what happens in federal governments and in national rooms and we protest and we stomp our feet and say we're not doing it because we believe so much in the documents that we founded here. So if that is who we are, and I believe it's who we are, and I champion that that's who we are, no matter where I am in the world, I come with that spirit, then I place my bet not on the office of a mayor or on the constituents that sit in governments, but on the people to lead and to guide in ways that are great and good for this Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, for the city of Philadelphia, and for the constituents and the people who live in it. So I am so excited to be able to live in a place where I can come on this program with you and talk about love in a way that it can move us without fear. So Donald Trump is part of the reason why this conversation's happening, because we wouldn't be talking about this if we weren't so afraid about the government of the dead. We are preparing and building the lifeboats that are going to save and preserve us, yes, but also the rest of the nation if we do it right. So I call on us to think about constituents, to not come to Sherelle's office and scream and holler and be angry. That's not helping anything. But to ask her to appeal to you as a mom. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, David. I,
Thank you.
we got way more out of this conversation than I think either of us actually thought, right? Because we are organically having dialogue every Monday about what's going on around the country, and we shifted to Madam Mayor and what's happening in the city of Philadelphia. I love that you honor who she is while
Mhm.
addressing the things that you think could be problematic for
Mhm.
her without denigrating her. I think a
100%.
lot of folks could learn from you around that part, right? Because they're just she's this and she's that, and I think what hurt me the most was they didn't see the good. They only saw the oh my God, she's on television doing X Y Z X Y Z. And the fact of the matter is, she had a yeoman's job in front of her, and she had to follow the budget and what was going on there. And to also to your point, we have ignored the marginalized for so long while doing what we want to do to make ourselves happy, but we don't realize that for what we don't do for the least of these, the crash comes on all of us. We are all going to fall into the pot if we don't take care of the folks, everybody, right? Someone talked about luxury housing at PHA. Let me tell you, I saw that for myself. 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. Their rent was $278, $342. And to Calvin Jeremiah's point, because I told was like, wait, I had to ask him to repeat it. Affordable luxury housing. And what he's doing is buying up the buildings that are empty that the contractors built and were just sitting there. And he's buying them for pennies on the dollars and putting the people in. The place is already done. They set up the space for people to go in. And I've talked to the residents. They had a Philly Seeds thing last Thursday. And I walked into the room. I did not talk to one person who considered themselves important. I went and had conversation with all of the residents and learned some beautiful things from them. One woman said, I've been living underneath 4 generations of noise. Same family, 4 generations later. She said, I finally decided in my late 60s that maybe I could own a home. They convinced me that I could own a home. And so her mortgage is not much more than what she pays because PHA comes in and covers a lot of the cost for what you do for the least of these, right? To help people to get a leg up so they can get out on their own and continue to stay out on their own. But we ridicule stuff like that because what we don't understand, we make noise about. Why is it so difficult to believe that in order for me to feel comfortable and live well, I can have a 2 rooms, I can have a bathroom for myself, I can, and not only that, and it's mixed housing. So there are PHA residents in the space, and there are people for affordable housing. So if affordable, quote unquote, in Philadelphia, that space would then be 1,700 to 2,000 for people who are working and making 60, 80, 70, 89. It's a lot, but we're seeing something being done versus nothing at all. So I'm
I
always
give
questioning.
I give you this truth, and I give it to everyone really. Um, Tell me, what is the most valuable apartment in a skyscraper?
I don't know.
where is it that's like the highest sold one? Every building that's built, these are the spaces that everybody wants to be in. The elevator requires a special key. You gotta get to this, whatever. What is that space in a building that everybody's trying to get to, right? It's the penthouse. It's the top of the building. It's the thing with all the balconies, this and the other. And I live in a penthouse.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a person who doesn't understand that dream or love that thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I will tell you that in order to have a penthouse, the building has to be built from the ground
From the
up.
foundation, right?
You got to
Right.
build not just from the ground, but you got to dig down into the earth and put beams down in the dust, in the soil,
Mm-hmm.
and in the mud to
Mm-hmm.
build your cement platform, to build your whatever else, to come back
Mm-hmm.
to street level one, and then to go up. So if you're up on the 100th
Mm-hmm.
floor, your
Mm-hmm.
entire life is anchored in the roots of the dust at the bottom of the building. Find me a penthouse which has been built from the sky down. It does not
Not
exist.
one does not exist.
There
And
is no
here's the
such
thing:
thing.
the person who lives closer to the basement gets out faster.
Let me tell you, there's no such thing as a skyscraper that's built from the sky down. That when the people of Babel tried to build that tower to get to God, it fell over. Let me tell you
Mm-hmm.
that it does not exist because, in order for humanity to exist, we
Mm-hmm.
have to, again, stand on the hands of the people beneath us to get where we're going
Mm-hmm.
graciously, lovingly,
Mm-hmm.
responsibly, for us to even have
Mm-hmm.
a thing like a penthouse. And if you're going to live in such a thing like a penthouse, then you better be sure that your whole butt
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
caring for, providing for the people beneath you.
David, I gotta ask you this. This is other David.
Yeah.
He says PHA luxury living on the backs of the working class. How so? Because PHA has been doing what the city was not able to do for the longest time, which was find housing for folks. It's a sliding scale. What can you afford to pay for is how they're going into these buildings, right? And so, how is that on the backs of the working class, right?
I think what I think the
Tell me what.
thought process is the homes that they're using providing for were once homes of whom, and what happened to those displaced individuals. And so is not
Mhm,
this program on the backs of the people who have been displaced? And the answer in many ways in that is yes. Yes, there are people who have
mhm,
lost their homes for many reasons. Sometimes it's a title change, sometimes someone
mhm,
died and we didn't know that who owned it. Sometimes it's
mhm,
not being able to afford the mortgage or the payments on the house and it gets taken and then
mhm,
suddenly given to someone else who couldn't afford the payments or the mortgage in the house, but are in a program for that. So 100% it is on the backs. And there is a
mhm,
conversation that needs to be had and a solution to stop taking the
mhm,
homes away, keep people in the houses that they already have. And some of the speech work that I've
mhm,
made on the floor has been about that. Keep people in their
mhm,
home, stop
mhm,
displacing them in the first place. But
mhm.
to that end, I always ask the question, why do they need to pay? Can we get out of this frame of why we need to ask how much you can afford before we house
Yes,
you? Why
yes,
can't we house you?
yes.
If you do not own your house, that is to say, you haven't purchased something, then why are you paying for it anyway? Why don't we say to the corporations which employ you, like
Put
we do
part of
with,
as a part of my income, you put me in housing.
I want to do it like we do, I want to look at housing the way we look at health care,
Mhm,
right? The job that employs you pays your health care. Why? Because
mhm,
your healthy body allows them to make money for you to work.
mhm, mhm,
So why doesn't the job that employs you, instead of paying you $120,000 a year, pay you 35 and house you and feed you?
mhm.
I would rather be housed and fed at $35,000 a year that
To
I
do
can
what
do
I want to
tax free
do with it,
whatever I
right?
want with,
Mhm,
knowing that I have a roof over my head and food in my belly,
mhm.
then be making 150 trying to figure out where I'm going to pay it to the
Yeah,
man
yeah,
to be able to sleep tonight.
yeah, yeah,
This now makes me want to stay at the company I'm in longer and work harder because the company
mhm.
I'm in is paying for my housing. And I don't want to be fired because it's where I work and eat and sleep.
Right. So I'm going to actually
When
put
my
some more effort
children
and
run,
time and
I'm gonna
energy
put some more effort.
into
I'm gonna show
staying.
up on
Yep.
time to get my work done. This
Yep.
is, by the way, not new and
Yeah.
brilliant.
Not
This is
rocket
something that was
science. Right.
done for years. The
Mhm,
1800s worked like this. In fact,
mhm,
in 1895 in Philadelphia, there were all of
mhm,
these buildings which were simply made so you could have a bedroom to sleep in for a month. We have all
mhm.
those sorts of places here. So I say to you, it's not impossible. It's not new, but yeah, I agree with the brother. We have to stop building programs off the backs of people we stole the program from in the first place. We should have made you homeless. Your mom died, she didn't have the proper title. Great. We can do the paperwork to figure that out.
Yeah. instead of
Why would
pushing
they
you
put in
out
the
of the
home?
house and people scarfing up the homes for
And
pennies
now
on
you
the
have to get
dollar.
on the list for 5 years so you can have luxury affordable housing, which was your house to begin with. This is looking like apartheid in South Africa to me. I'm not interested. I'm not interested in being redistricted to
You
have to come
have
home each time,
given
for
me
instance.
so much, and so many of us so much to think about. Absolutely. I
So I
appreciate
think that this is a big conversation. I agree, I'm so glad that people come on. It's a shame that we can't see the comments here on this platform, but
it.
when we're on other places, we can see what people are saying. We can address it because this is real. This is what it means to legislate.
So for you, do you see the comments as they're reading? Can you see the comments as
I
they're good?
can't
You
see
can't
that
see them
now.
at all. Oh,
No.
we're gonna have to meet second because you're supposed to be able to see them. Sharice Syfax
Yeah.
sees them when they come up. So,
Okay.
I want to make sure. Okay, housing is a mechanism for people to gain equity in their homes for generational wealth. Yeah, but there are people who would need to rent or to stay someplace. That some people don't want to buy houses, David. Some people just need a space over their head so they can live their lives.
And
Because owning a house
absolutely,
comes with other things too.
absolutely, you're right. As a free person in America and this citizen in this country, is to be able to choose that dream and to work towards it. And so I 100% say, if you're going to buy a home, great, fair market, this, that, and the other, all this sort of
Mhm.
stuff. Now, for the people who are not buying a home, people who are renting a home, now we have a different conversation
Right, right.
because what are you providing as a service? So the thing is always, well, is it just free? Well, no, this person is working and providing a service too. I would rather us say, you don't have a house, great. This job comes with this house. I'm going to give you the job and the house together. Hun,
Hmm. Hmm.
where is that? What happened to that? We would
I
have
know, and it
no
used to happen.
homeless people if we simply, because again, we say, oh my God, but they're mentally ill, they're crazy, they're addicted to this. Do you know that all those things symptomatically are ways that people
Hmm.
use as coping mechanisms to get through their terrible
Hmm.
life? They take drugs instead of going to the actual doctor to get a prescription
Hmm.
for the correct thing. They drink too much because of the depression that's going on inside of them. Most people just don't wake up and start drinking for no good
Hmm.
reason. They've got some terrible thing going on in their mind, in their body, in their
Hmm.
spirit, and they
Hmm.
medicate, self-medicate.
Hmm.
Okay, so we talk about rehabilitation. That's another wing of that too. But I want to talk about what happens if we address this before it gets to a problem.
Hmm. Hmm.
If I knew that what you needed was a job, and I said, if you work at the grocery store itself will house you in its grocery store tower
Hmm.
while you work here at a minimum of 8 hours per whatever, fine.
Hmm.
Now all of a sudden we have equitable solutions.
Hmm.
I don't know a homeless person or a person who's struggling who wants to struggle. I've not
Right.
met people who said, I want to be in a position
Yeah.
of struggle.
Yeah.
I've seen people who are at the end of the rope.
Yeah.
Crime in the world is at its lowest when people are not obligated to commit it.
Crime in the world is at its lowest when people are not obligated to commit it.
If you are
Okay,
not hungry, you don't steal food.
right. Yes, where
If
you
you
have
are not
shelter over
naked,
your
you
head,
don't
you're not.
take
Yeah.
clothing.
Hmm.
If you're
Hmm.
not taught that you have to have the latest and greatest iPhone and you can't afford it, you don't steal it.
Hmm.
If you have everything in the world that you could possibly want, you stop finding reasons to take things from other people.
People.
So when the Bible says, do not covet thy neighbor's things, it also says, ask for abundance.
Hmm.
You don't need your neighbor's things if you yourself live wonderfully.
Hmm.
And we, as neighbors, we, as the people in Philadelphia,
Hmm.
have a concern that we should be concerned about that we are our brother's keepers. I go
Hmm.
back to this. It is our
Hmm.
job to be our brother's keeper.
Yeah, David, they're telling you to click the live chat on the right. You need to go on a computer. If you're on a computer, you should see the live chat. Do you see
See,
it?
this is the problem. No, because the
When you're on
computer's
the
too
phone.
old. I did not covet the new neighbor's computer. And so I have an old one.
Ah, you are so crazy. All right, so we're going to figure that piece out
That's
because now
fine.
if
Well,
you use a computer or an because on
we
the
might
computer you
just,
can see
yeah.
the live chat on the right side,
Okay,
right?
there we are.
Okay. All
Perfect.
right,
So
my
I'll
darling,
do
it's
it.
time to go because I do have to go do a live broadcast. So this
I
episode
am
of
so
Morning,
glad to see you, and
good
I'm
to
glad
see
we
you
had this
too.
conversation. It was a really
You know
important one
what?
to do.
Do you have time this afternoon?
I'm around, yeah. Where are
Okay, all
you?
right. I'll call you when I'm finished. This
Okay.
episode of Mornings with Mova is officially over. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders. I'll see you when I see you. Bye, everybody. Bye, David. Bye bye.